something to say, so I did. On behalf of Evan and our children and me, thank you so much for honoring him in this way. We knew Evan to be a courageous person long before cancer. Professionally, he was a police officer. Bravery was the job description. At home and in his neighborhood and at work, he was always the person turning right when everyone else was running left. He was going toward trouble, uncertainty, and fear in the hope that he could help, even when it was scary, even when it was inconvenient. When I found out Evan would be receiving this award, I was initially a little baffled. In our society, we often talk about patients fighting a brave battle, but it doesn't require courage to have cancer. It doesn't require courage to die. Sure, Evan was brave in the face of disease and treatment and death, but aren't all of your patients? Isn't every patient in your care worthy of this honor? But after thinking about it and talking to Brandy and to the kids and other members of his care team, I realized that Evan's courage isn't found in the way that he faced terminal cancer. It was in the way that he lived and insisted on continuing to live in the midst of it. Evan was diagnosed with glioblastoma after a seizure at work in November 2021. Within 6 weeks, he had a biopsy and 2 craniotomies. Between surgery and recovery and infection, he spent almost all of November 2021 to January of 2022 in various hospital rooms and rehab facilities. He went through radiation, multiple kinds of chemo, a brief stint with Optune, infusions and water biopsies on his brain and on his liver. He did any and every treatment, every test, every diagnostic he was told to try. He endured the endless blood work and nearly full-time job of appointments and the life-altering side effects. With every round of treatment, Evan lost and lost and lost. We lost him in millimeters every week, and then every day, and then almost every hour. He lost memory and cognitive processing, the ability to control his own body, his agency and autonomy, and sometimes even his dignity. He lived like this with glioblastoma for 38 months. While that is certainly longer than most GBM patients get, in the span of a human lifetime, 38 months doesn't sound very long, and it certainly wasn't long enough. He did all of this knowing that he probably wouldn't be able to rewrite the ending. He couldn't prevent the inevitable. It wasn't that kind of fight. So he stopped thinking about the ending. His courage in life and in death was undergirded by his faith. He wasn't afraid of where he was headed next. So he didn't fight cancer so much as he fought to live every day. His philosophy was, I just have to live long enough for them to develop the next treatment. In reality, what he was fighting for was the chance to watch his kids grow up. 38 months isn't a long time for grown-ups, but it's the difference between being 7 and 10 when your dad is diagnosed, and 10 and 13 when he leaves this earth. If you're a kid, 38 months might as well be a lifetime. And he did live. He took them to Disney World in a wheelchair. He took them to the beach when he wasn't strong enough to walk on the sand anymore. He hiked when hiking was more like a shuffle. He showed up for work when work was no longer a squad car, but a desk and a cubicle. He attended dance recitals and basketball games when it took absolutely Herculean effort to leave the house. Even in his last weeks, he was still telling his family and his care team that he was going back to uniformed police work any day now. Any day now, he was going to get back to caring for others. And so I guess when I think about this award, when I think about the courage of a cancer patient, that's what I think about. Having cancer didn't make him brave. dying didn't make him brave, but choosing to live while he was living made him brave. I love the Eleanor Roosevelt quote that says, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it." Even in his illness, he was the brave man we knew in his previous life. He decided to act, to live, to keep going, when it was scary and inconvenient, when it was strange and confusing and sometimes embarrassing. He kept showing up to the next treatment, knowing that it would likely make him sick and increasingly incapacitated, understanding that it might only give him a few extra weeks. He kept going because he just wanted to help the people he loved, and to him, helping looked like being alive. It means so much to us for Evan to have been selected by his care team for this honor. In particular, we are grateful to Dr. Christopher Chipko, who unflinchingly told us the truth with compassion while prioritizing Evan's well-being over his tumor. Dr. Susan Schaefer, who always treated Evan with reassurance, like this was all perfectly normal and going well, even when it absolutely was not. Mary Mateer, who patiently completed the greatest number of work-related medical forms for a GBM patient ever. Dr. Mary Lucchese, who loved us through our hardest days. I wish she could be my PCP. And Brandy Downing, our nurse navigator, who told me early on that I would be a rock for Evan and she would be a rock for me. She was, and sometimes still is. For us, this award means that even while we watched pieces of him slip away, you still saw him. You saw his stoic determination to keep going and keep living. And it strikes me that this is what you all do, too. While you hope and research and treat and pray for cures, you keep going. You support patients' courage, not just to face and fight disease, but to keep showing up in their own lives. The fact that your patients have cancer is far less significant than the fact that, in spite of it all, they are continuing to live. So thank you for the way that you saw Evan and loved him and cared for him, and blessings to all of you as you continue to walk alongside the living. Thank you so much.